Okay, okay. No one panic. No one panic. They released the ban list. I thought they would release it at a YCS. And they didn't. I was just talking with friends yesterday about it, and it seems like they just decided to drop it now instead of at like an event like they have been for the past couple. It's been a long time overdue. I don't think the format was particularly bad, so we'll have to see what's on the ban list. It's already up on screen now, but I'm like looking away. I like tried to pull it up while looking at as little as possible. I mean, I see Paradise Smashers, his big head is here. With these Twitter ban lists, it's really hard to avoid all spoilers, but let's just jump into it and take a look at what they've done here. So they banned Moon. Moon is actually huge. Okay, that really hurts any sort of Fiendsmith variant. That's crazy. They banned Splash Mage as a hit to Malice. I don't love it necessarily if it's the only hit because I think deck is still certainly playable without Splash Mage. I mean, they still have Haggard Lizardos to extend as a link to. All of the backup stuff still goes crazy. Like Splash Mage is good, don't get me wrong, but it's not. I don't think this is the only. If this is the only hit, if Malice is still playable. King of the Feral, insane hit. Murders Mitsu Raizel. Um, hurts Pure Mitsu a little bit, but like it does still encourage players to play Pure Mitsu, which I do appreciate. But yeah, Mitsu Rise is gone. You can still play regular Raizel though, or like Heraldic or Anomat, whatever you want to do there, just without the Mitsurugi stuff. So this just really kills the bridge between Mitsurugi and anything else. Stuff like um, Orchist Mitsu are gone now. And then Paradise Smasher. This is the one everyone was expecting. The card needed to go. Uh, just shutting off monster effects is absolutely insane. And when you can guarantee it with so many free level fives that K9 gives you, it's just pretty unfair. So glad this card is gone. And then we'll talk over everything with my thoughts. I want to get through the live reaction first. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's a lot of cards on here. Next, limited. That's another ding to Raziel. Not crazy or anything like that. It's fine. Decks are still playable, a little less consistent. One next is actually really unfortunate. It's another check to Raziel, so don't play Raziel anymore. Malice Dormouse to one, nice. I appreciate it. Another check to Malice means they're less likely to open a starter. Consistency is already a huge issue with so few starters in the deck. So uh, limiting that is nice. I would have also liked to see like a March Hare on here. I thought March Hare limit would be pretty nice, but it is. Raise and limit is crazy. That really hurts Vanquish Soul a lot because they were already struggling with their fire count. Um, they're probably gonna have to play the fire attacker impulse engine in order to beef up the fires now because losing two raisin is huge. It lowers their chances of drawing it. The deck already had a lot of consistency issues, so making it brick more often is crazy. I would have thought maybe Stake Your Soul would have gotten limited, but and I'm peeking down there. It is holy crap. Okay, we'll talk about that when we get there. I don't know. I don't know why I peeked so far down to see that, but yeah, that's okay. So you know we'll talk about this together since I do. Raisin and Stake Your Soul limit that is horrendous for Vanquish. I borderline don't even see he's in the play the deck. Like that sucks. That's that makes it so hard to start with. Like that you just lost four starters in a deck that was already notorious for bricking. Like yeah, that's horrendous. I mean, still play. You could still play it. It's not bad, but I think now there are just other better canine, Crystron or something like that. Unless they murder Crystron. I do see inclusion. We'll talk about that. I don't think that's a murder though. He's with Lacrima being back. I like it. I thought this card was banned way too quickly, especially now with Closed Moon being banned. Not every deck has access to Fiendsmith combos anymore. Only decks that have like Fiend or stuff like that. So for decks like Live Twin Fiendsmith, Magic Musket Fiendsmith, the Closed Moon ban doesn't do all that much. Even like Rise Heal Fiendsmith you can bridge with. It does make it a lot harder for generic decks to access it. So now that that's gone, Lacrima can probably come back because you have more dedicated strategy for it anyways. And the 1200 burn that most people were really frustrated with Lacrima for just winning by virtue of playing your end no longer matters with the new time rules. So it's just a nice 6 extender. Beatrice is gone, so it's not like there's Link Rebo comes back. It's fine. I think that's a nice buff to Yummy, especially because I'm peeking down and seeing some hits to Yummy, which I'm a bit frustrated with, but fine. They're not direct hits, at least. Deck is still fully playable with limits and whatnot. But Link Rebo coming back is huge. The OCG played Link Rebo and Yummy as a way to convert any of your level ones into a free Link one that also can bring it back from itself from the graveyard, which is really, really nice. Snake Eye's not doing anything crazy at the moment, so off with two. Summoning Source coming back is fine. It got errated. It's really, really bad now, so this should have come back like 2 lists ago, but glad they're finally cleaning that up. Probably Arclight limit is very interesting. Probably warranted. Making double Herald is quite oppressive, especially in the Yummy and or not mirror, sorry, Yummy into Dracotail matchup. Because a lot of times that matchup is supposed to be Dracotail favored, and I still even do think with 3 Herald it was but when Yummy is able to establish a Herald, much less 2 Heralds on the board, such that like it negates all of your fusion serial advantage that you gain in that deck, it was really frustrating. With 1 Herald, the deck is still fine. Most of the Yummy end boards only ended on 1 Herald anyways. It just means that you're not threatening to make a second one on your opponent's turn. But that doesn't really lower the ceiling of Yummy all that much. Like it is going to be noticeable. There are going to be games where you could have won if you had the second Herald, but most games with Yummy, you're already just Herald and all of your other top of that with like stuff like that. Dryden coming back, awesome. This deck card could have come back quite a while ago. Not sure why Konami was. I really don't even think I understand why they banned it in the first place. Not the first place. The second time they came around and banned it, I clarify. First time I understood. But banning it another time when like the combo was like top Ram to get into Draco Future, like, it was so bad. The Dryden combos they were afraid of were so bad. So this is fine. I'm glad it's coming back. This should trickle even probably up to 3. Not gonna make Zoo playable. No one's gonna be playing Zoo with 1 Dryden. It's possible you could splash an engine in, but like the new wave is level 5s, so having some level 4 engine probably not going to cut it versus stuff like K9 versus stuff like Yami versus stuff like Drake. It's nice to have back. Inclusion limited is quite interesting. Really hurts Crystron. Pure for sure. Crystron K9 as well loses 2 additional starters. And if you start with inclusion, you can't then send an inclusion later um, with your Sulfador to extend further. So this is going to noticeably impact Crystron. Does it kill the deck? No. The deck can still fully function with just 1 inclusion. You might have to play a beefier Crystron package to make up for it. Maybe more copies of Smiger as a starter to search your inclusion. But it will remain to be seen. I think the deck will adapt. This doesn't. Obedience Schooled, one I'm not thrilled to see because I love Yummy. I think Yummy's really cool, really interesting. But if there was one card that needed to be hit in the deck, it probably was Obedience Schooled. Non once per turn, summon 3 deck. It's crazy. And there have been many instances where you open 2, your first corrupted, and your second one gets and your opponent is just out a card. Obedience Schooled on its own is your full combo, and you basically negates any of your opponent's hand. So many. Limited is fine. Hurts Yummy a little bit. So the Herald plus the Obedience Schooled limits put a solid slap on the wrist to Yummy, but again, I don't see it killing the deck by any stretch. The deck was still full comboing with all the Yummy names, getting them all 1 card combos, and with Marshmallow coming out, the deck's going to get a huge buff once again. So this is probably a nice deck. We talked about Stake Your Soul with Raisin. I'm kind of stunned at how harsh they're being on Vanquish Soul. I think a lot of people liked the Vanquish Soul Canine strategy. I think they thought it was cool. It'll be interesting to see where that deck goes from here if it can continue to compete. And Solemn Judgment. What did Solemn Judgment do to get limited? It was seeing a lot of play in the side deck for sure. As a 3 of, you would just throw in there so you could side out um, your Mulch armies. They're going first. And limiting it doesn't do much because you can just as easily switch in something like an Iron Thunder or a any of the other solemns like Warning, Strike. Those could all just go in, serve a relatively nice purpose. Sure, you lose out on the blanket spell trap negation that Judgment gives you, but honestly, the other solemns have advantages the Judgment doesn't have. Strike being able to hit monster effects is huge. Like some of the most impactful effects in the game right now are monster effects. And Solemn Judgment, or sorry, Solemn Warning is able to hit monster effects that summon themselves, which are a ton of those right now, alongside spell and traps that do summoning stuff like all these other high impact cards. So I don't think they're doing much by limiting Judgment. I think they're just swapping out which Solemn you're gonna pull. So that's interesting. Interesting choice. I guess now that life point costs don't matter as much, maybe they're worried that with the new time rules, Judgment becomes way stronger, but I'm not particularly worried about that. On to semi-limited. I can't imagine too much. Brand Fusion, that's great. Um, Fantastic to see that, and I'm also really happy to see minimal hits across the board to like stuff like Draco Tail, stuff like again. There were a lot of Vanquish Soul hits, so I can't say there were minimal hits there. Nothing to K9, which I at least appreciate that was that serious. Like again, losing the second, third Herald hurt. Losing the second and third OBA school hurt, but not. It's like a light slap on the wrist, to be honest. Like I'll still be playing Yummy. I still think Yummy's the best deck in the form at the moment in my head. And so I'm glad that the list wasn't particularly too harsh on the decks. Didn't do out any outright killing of those decks to push the product. Because I think that they still want to sell some Roy's stuff. And that's another thing to consider too with the inclusion is that Crystron gets 3 more technical copies of starters with Naroi coming out. Now, a lot of people were expecting Naroi to be a one of potentially in the deck because the combos weren't that good, but now that you lose inclusion, you probably do need to. And then unlimited, my goodness, there's quite a bit here. We've got Glow Up Bulb, fantastic. Metallic Band, Glow Up Bulb's doing nothing. Could definitely come back to 3. Excited to see that come back. Masterpiece. It's just been so long since Masterpiece has been relevant. It has done nothing when it was released in the OCG. It has done nothing when it was released in Master Duel. It will do nothing when it's released in the. Unfortunately, Masterpiece's time at the top has long come. And nice to see them cleaning up the list. Morphing Jar, same deal. No one's playing Empty Jar. Who cares? Sky Blaster coming back. It's kind of interesting as a body that just generates bodies. It takes it to normal, which is probably enough to make it really bad. But token generation can always be broken. If someone's hold your normal and summon Sky Blaster later in the turn, get an insane amount of link material off one card. I don't think it will see any serious play, but it is a card to come back and experiment with. I think Ash and Poplar to 3. I think without OSS, the deck is still bad. It's tough to play the deck without the main bridge that gets all your combos going, allows you to play so many extra starters with the Bellstar stuff. But Ash and Poplar are still strong cards, right? Ash searching any level 1 fire, Poplar being Poplar, like the emblematic of so many new waves of support, just like on ad special and on special search. It's so powerful. So these 2 cards will make Snake Eye better. I don't know if Snake Eye will see serious play, but we'll have to see. Diagram coming back alongside Masterpiece actually is a bit interesting. I still don't see Masterpiece or Draco being meta or playable. But they could always jam a bunch of floodgates and do decent at a regional. Like I could see them getting a regional top with just floodgates, triple diagram, triple masterpiece, and your opponent not having it. But I think there's already a better unaffected towers deck in Moonlight, and playing that instead of Masterpiece because while Masterpiece is a quick effect pop one, Liger Dancer is a quick effect pop the whole board. So uh, I don't expect this to do much, but it's nice for those Tradraco players out there. Lightning Storm coming back to three is cool. Um, it being at two was always weird, and low key I don't even know if that changes much because I think you're always just playing the two Lightning Storm, one Duster in the side if you're siding that package. Um, Maybe now you're playing Triple Storm instead because it's a bit more versatile, but I think Duster is just so strong because it's live whenever you draw it, as opposed to Lightning Storm after your first, second turn. It's relevant, but you is at a point where if you don't clear your opponent's board on that turn, it's probably over anyways. So Lightning Storm might just be better in that sense. I'll have to do some testing with it, but it's a very minimal change. And then Barrage to three is awesome. Really cool to see. Um, Zodiac far beyond its time in terms of power level, with the caveat that Rat stays limited and Broadbill stays big. Raw Bill just too generic. Searching any Beast Warriors and can't be having that, especially in non-hard ones. Rat here, non-hard ones to turn summon from deck every single, especially when you can just keep slapping Xyz monsters on the board on top of it and get an extra summon. So Barrage doesn't do anything. Even alongside Dryden, it doesn't do anything. But super cool. So that's the list. That's my reaction to it. I hadn't seen any of this before coming live. Overall thoughts: decent list. Minimal concerns. I think they were a bit too harsh to um, stuff like Vanquish Soul. I think Vanquish Soul didn't deserve the massive hits that it got here. Like these are very serious. I think some people might be like, "Oh, you still got all of your tools to access," but losing two Vanquish Soul names alongside two additional starters is going to make the deck significantly. Something the deck already really struggled. We'll have to see. And it's just light slaps on the wrist all around, except for I mean, banning Splash Mage. I don't think that kills Malice. And I'm glad that they did minimal hits to Mitsurugi. I think Mitsurugi is a really cool deck that should stick around. And well, you could argue King of the Phalanx is a hit to the Rise of Mitsurugi strategy. I think most Mitsurugi variants that weren't being used as bridges will be. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments what you all think about this ban list. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What would you have done differently? I think there was some stuff that I was not thinking of that ended up getting happened. But we'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you like this kind of content, you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I was originally planning on recording and uploading a different video, but ban list takes priority. So we'll probably be back early next week with some more Yu-Gi-Oh content. But until then, I'll see y'all next time. Bye.